all I'm doing here is cleaning up the chuck by hand. I could do this on a wire wheel, but it'll actually come out better by hand. So I'm just using these plumbing brushes and just cleaning it up that way. You can see how nice the knurled surface came out. I already got that done, so I'm just going to keep going here. And it doesn't take too long. You'd think it would take a while, but it doesn't. So it's pretty easy. Yeah, get a really nice finish. Then you can polish this up with either a buffing wheel or polishing compound after. So as you can see, it's going to come out very, very nice. Very little effort. And that's some pretty heavy rust on there, but it's coming right off. So it's going to look really good. And I'm using a coarse brush. I have a fine one too for doing the finish cleaning and give it a little more of a smooth surface. And there it is, pre-polish, all cleaned up. Came out very nice. I will probably polish it. The knurled surface I'll probably leave as is, but the rest of it I will probably put on the buffing wheel. So we'll see how that comes out. Alright, there's the finished chuck. It's all done, polished up. Still got some character to it, so I mean, if I really wanted to, I could sand this and make it really, really shiny and smooth, but the little defects and things like that are part of the history of it, so I think in this case I'm going to leave it as is, and certainly rust free. So I've still got to do the jaws in there, but the rest of it is all good to go. It came out very nice, all by hand. And I put it on the buffing wheel with rouge, and then I also went over it by hand and polished it with Mother's mag polish, which is mainly for aluminum, but it's also usable on steel. Very, very good polish. So there you have it. Alright, now I'm just cleaning the spindle the same way I did the chuck. So as you can see, it's gonna come out very, very nice. Same process here, nothing different. I'll do the threads too. As you can see, it comes out very well. Cleans right up. Oh, really shiny. So there you go. And this part, as far as I can tell, doesn't come out of here. So it's much easier to do it by hand than trying to put it on a wheel. Some things are better done on a wire wheel, but in this case, I think doing it by hand is the way to go. Alright, there's the finished shaft, all polished. Clean up by hand again. Came out very nice. So that's all set, and obviously I'll just continue on with everything else, but coming out very well. Alright, I just finished doing the drill body on the wire wheel. This I did not do by hand. Cleaned up the gear, got all the oil and grease off of it. This had Japanning on it. Now, if whatever you're working on has Japanning that's in good shape, I would leave it alone. On this particular drill, the Japanning was in really bad shape and flaking off, so I decided to take it off. But if you want to keep the value of your tool, try to save it if you can. So there's still some on here, little bits here and there. I was going to repaint this, but I think I'm going to leave it as is. I'll probably put some paste wax on it and keep it from rusting, but that was the other thing. It had rust everywhere, so I had to clean it up. And I'm going to actually be using this drill, so I really needed to get it clean. But yeah, the Japanning, if it's in decent shape, even if you're missing a few little spots or whatever, try to preserve it. But in this case, it had to come off, unfortunately. So there's that. That's all done. So I'm going to keep it as is. But if I painted it, I think it would look too new. It would look like a reproduction piece, so I'm not going to do that. So that's all set. I'll show you. There's some of the old Japanning on this piece. That's going to come off too, because it's just flaking right off, and there's lots of rust. So unfortunately, it's got to go. Yeah, I'm not going to paint it. So and the pin is pretty rusted, or heavily rusted. So that's going to get cleaned up. That did not have Japanning on it. So that's the next step, get that cleaned up. And the crank, I've got it soaking in WD to get all the oil off, and grease, mostly grease. They kept greasing it over the years. It was well maintained in terms of keeping it lubricated, but every time they greased it, they didn't take off the old grease, so it's got a lot of buildup on there. Now this has red paint on it, and that I think I might try to save. It's in decent condition. There's not a lot of rust around it, so I'll probably try to keep that intact. The handle, I'll probably take the Japanning off and bring that down to steel. Oh, and the handles, yeah, don't refinish your handles. They'll usually be this really nice red color. That'll really wreck the value if you sand them and refinish them. Just if they're greasy, just clean them up with some simple green lightly, and use some paste wax or bowling alley paste and just wax them up. So yeah, I'm not touching those, I'm just going to wax them. That's about it. So that's the next step, get this thing cleaned up and start getting them back together. Alright, it's all done. Came out really nice. Cleaned it up. I got all the grease off of it, and now I have it oiled instead of 10 tons of grease, and wax the handles. Everything's reassembled. It's a beautiful, beautiful drill, and it still's got a lot of the character. I did keep the red paint. I think it looks good, and some of the Japanning's still on the metal. I left what was still in good shape and strong enough. I did take most of it off or all of it off the top. There's a little bit underneath. So the cool thing about this drill is it has a quick release system on it. You push these buttons, and that big gear slides out, and you can drop it down to the lower hole to engage the smaller sprocket. So it's a 2-speed drill. It's fantastic. And the other cool thing is the rest can be rotated 90 degrees. It has two little divots on the rod up here, one for your knee and one for your shoulder. So if you're working this way, you can just turn it around, tighten the screw, and you're good to go. So it's a really, really cool tool, and I'll definitely be using that a lot. So there it is. But yeah, the key to when you're doing these is just keep them as original as possible, not go overboard with making them too fancy, too shiny, and all that. At least that's how I feel about it. Keep some of the original aspects of them, but definitely get all the rust off and excess grease and things like that. So there you go. I'll be getting a good amount of use out of this. Alright, so I don't have a lot of information on this drill. Actually, I don't have any at all, but I'm gonna try to research it and find out approximately how old it is. I'm guessing it's probably late 1800s, but it might be much newer than that. I'm not sure. It has, the paper label is actually still, there's still a little bit of it left right there, and you can see some of the script. So I'm going to use that to try and identify it, because of the knee and shoulder rust. It's definitely made for heavy duty day in day out work. So see what I can find on it. And I got this for $10, thrift store. Pretty good deal. But we'll see what I can find, and I'll put that in the description. Thanks for watching.